changing face of supermarket shopping after the SuperValu takeover of Superquinn is confirmed in figures that have been released about the pattern or the breakdown of where we go when we go to shop in a supermarket. These are figures from a survey carried out by Kantar Worldpanel, which is a firm of market analysts. To tell us more, we're joined by the editor of Checkout magazine, Stephen Wynne-Jones. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. SuperValu and SuperQuinn put them together and they're now in second place. What's the breakdown exactly? How close are they to Tesco?
The breakdown is now essentially SuperValu as a combined entity has 25.3% of the market. That's only 1.1% behind Tesco, which historically for the past 7 or 8 years at least has been the market leader. So Tesco is now 26.4%, SuperValu 25.3%, hot on its heels really.
So two big players, and therefore the potential for where are Dunnes?
Dunnes are a third big player, you might say. They're 22.4%, which is down slightly on last year, but Dunnes have a tendency to fluctuate up and down over the course of the year depending on promotions and times of the year. So what you really have is three big players that between them have about 75% of the market between them.
And the potential for some heavy competition, or heavier?
Well, there is competition out there in the form of Aldi and Lidl, which have really gained ground in the past few years. I mean, I think it's probably Tesco and Dunnes that are feeling the impact of Aldi and Lidl more than SuperValu. SuperValu has always managed to maintain a message of provenance, of supporting Irish, of community, and it's Tesco and Dunnes with kind of various price promotions that are having to go head-to-head with Aldi and Lidl, and in many cases missing out.
Yeah, does it still remain the case that Aldi and Lidl are the fastest growers?
That's right. Aldi is up 22.8% on the past year. It's now at 7.5% of the market. Lidl is up to 7%. That's up 11.6% of the market. That's way faster than mainstream grocers. In fact, Tesco and Dunnes have both dropped back. As I said, SuperValu's managed to hold its own, but Aldi and Lidl are really gathering pace and really attracting more shoppers.
This survey, this analysis is based on what exactly?
It's based on basket shoppers, basically a representative sample of 4,000 shoppers and what's in their basket and where they're going on a month-to-month basis. Questions have been raised about the methodology in the past. A study that Checkout itself carried out with behaviour and attitudes asked shoppers which supermarkets they'd like to go, or they usually go to for their main shop each week, and it found that Aldi and Lidl ranked actually higher than Tesco. So there have been questions raised about the Kantar methodology in the past, but it is the closest benchmark we have to who the leading supermarkets are in the trade. So
SuperValu are breathing down the necks, literally, of Tesco. Broadly speaking, what does this survey tell us about consumer spending, of it, how people compared to a couple of years ago, how they're feeling and how much they're spending?
Well, really the key message out there, and it has been since probably about 2009, is value. And you can package value up in many different ways. I mean, obviously, Aldi and Lidl have been very strong historically on promoting a value message, but ever since then they've built in a provenance message, they've built in a message of supporting Irish producers. Tesco recently have engaged in the price promise, where they refund shoppers the difference between a shop in Tesco and a shop in Aldi and Lidl. They've also started accepting rivals coupons as well, which is an interesting take on it. Dunnes recently have really gone down the value route. They have really cut back on media spend, for one thing, in the run-up to Christmas, so they could plough more money into handling promotions, essentially. So it's all about value and kind of packaging it differently for the consumer, but that is the key message still out there.
By the way, do you have any idea, or is there a reliable figure for the number of us who go to one of the big three, Dunnes, SuperValu or Tesco, and then go as well occasionally, or maybe as much, to Aldi or Lidl? Yeah,
it's an interesting point, because in the past few years, maybe up until last October, there was a real trend of shopping around, shopping little and often. You went to Tesco, but you also went to Aldi. You went to Dunnes, but you also went to Lidl. In October, what you had was a lot of vouchering by a lot of the main supermarkets. If you spent €50, you got a tenner off. And that led to people going back to the big shop again, to the big weekly shop. But now, increasingly, rather than reverting back to the supermarkets they may have shopped with in the past, whether it's Tesco or Dunnes, they were increasingly using Aldi or Lidl for that main shop. So it's an indication of how the discounters, if you can still call them the discounters, have really ingrained themselves in the mindset of the consumer.
Is it clear what most of us do? Go to one shop or go to several?
Well, it changes. This is the thing about it. So you never predict the nature of the consumer, because we do shop around more depending on the times of the year. Around Easter or around Christmas, around key periods, we will look to see what the best value is, where the best value is. In the run up to Christmas, the amount of media coverage, the amount of media spend that the main supermarkets put out there was well ahead of what was the FMCG industry, for example.
Then we revert back to just going to the same place.
Well, we do, but we're liable to change. I mean, one of the things that Aldi and Lidl, as I mentioned, have been very successful at is shifting the goalposts, essentially, in terms of what they can offer. So you had Aldi with an advertising campaign not so long ago which focused on Irish farmers. It didn't mention price at all. It didn't mention the product. It just focused on the provenance message. So almost as if Aldi are trying to steal a march on some of the real domestic Irish retailers that have been ploughing this message for some time now.
All right, Stephen Wynne-Jones, editor of Checkout. Thank you very much.